The Seamstress and the Tinker. Chapter 2. The Call to Adventure. Episode 4. Just as Tinker stepped outside his house, having just changed his shorts, but not his shirt or his trousers, he turned to lock his door. He didn't need to lock his door, but he had tinkered with the locks, and as such, none of them actually locked. The Tinker didn't care for locks that didn't lock, nor did he notice a shadow creeping up 2 steps behind him. He turned the bend in his path, hoping to make to the seamstress house in time for a cup of tea, and was disappointed to see 2 clients walking through his front gate, both bards, one with the mannequin and a woman who had told him about the wagon with the broken axle. "Ah, you are at home. You're not as far from the Courier's Arms as I was told." "It's a small world after all," said the puppet with its sing-song voice. Tinker stared at her. To the puppet, it looked blankly forward with its oversized painted eyes. He looked at the puppeteers, who also looked forward, past the Tinker with an expression that made a stone wall appear attractive. "I am Veronica Spruker, and this is my good friend Amata Gugnol. Her companion, Mr. Bonobo, is injured." And when we mention distance, "It's a small world after all," sang the puppet. He says that, or more to the point, that is all he allows her to say. Tinker leaned back on one foot and stared at the puppet, which was surprisingly clean given the distance it had walked. A few loose threads here and there, but no signs of damage. "Hang on, he allows her to say?" quizzed the Tinker. "Puppeteers like Amata use their magic to bind themselves to puppets. She can only communicate through it, and that is how she tells her stories. It is quite urgent that it is sent to immediately." Tinker scratched his head and allowed them to follow him into his workshop. He gestured to Amata to lay Mr. Bonobo on his workbench. She stood there, over him, pulling her own strings. Tinker began a thorough examination, using his torch in one hand and a spanner in the other. And this is a picture of Tinker examining Mr. Bonobo. "So what's news?" he asked again, trying to gain more information about the puppet. "News? I'm just the person to ask," Veronica spoke through the window. She was outside with her face pressed against the glass. "Hear ye! Hear ye! I am a crier, and I bring news from the Nord," she shouted, causing the Tinker to shudder. "Not so loud. Just the news."